The universe is loud in a very quiet way. Are you listening? Welcome to the Cosmic Whispers podcast, where we delve into the realms of spirituality, personal growth, and the cosmic dance between the third and fifth dimensions. In a world filled with noise and distractions, we invite you to tune in to your own cosmic whispers, where we can awaken our inner wisdom and embark on unveiling the authentic self and cosmic connection. Welcome to episode 14 with special guest Roberto Landivar, an international business strategist, conscious environmentalist, and guardian of our planet. His journey unfolds beyond boardrooms to the heart of Bolivia, where he established the Iwiti Yagua Kawi sanctuary, a haven for animals affected by deforestation and slash-and-burn agriculture in Bolivia. This profound calling didn't happen overnight. Roberto faced personal tragedies, enduring dark nights of the soul, and embarked on a transformative journey with dietas and plant medicine in the jungles of Peru, leading him to a deeper connection with nature and his relentless commitment to our planet. Welcome to the podcast, Roberto. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Joan, for having me.
Today, I would actually really like to talk about the sanctuary that you started called Iwiti Yagua Kawi. What inspired this phrase, and how is it considered meaningful?
Chriguano is a native dialect from the region I am from in Bolivia. The region is called Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is such a blessed place. It's been called always the place on earth that has the bluest skies, and there is so much green forests and such amazing wild diversity, plants and animals. It's truly a blessed place. And the Chriguano were a mixture of two native tribes that merged, the Guaranis that came from down south, and the Chane that used to live around this area. And the name in Chriguano, if we translate it literally, means Iwiti is a hill, Yagua is a jaguar, and Kawi means beautiful. So it means the beautiful jaguar from the hill. Even though this land is so blessed in its nature, there have been very delicate situation. There's a delicate situation that's been going on for the past couple of decades, actually. There's a agricultural race to be able to produce large extensions of monoculture agriculture. And there's been a rampant fires during the past couple of decades. They've burned down millions of hectares of forests to be able to make this land productive in terms of agriculture, because that's one of the base pillars of the government to be able to sustain itself economically. So that type of practice is actually incentivized by the local government, even though it is a government with socialist tendencies. It still is incentivizing slash and burn agriculture. And we have been suffering for the past 2 months, heavy smoke from all the burn. Like the whole city has been just completely filled up in smoke. Everyone from the kids had to stay inside their houses. Schools were closed down. And even though the situation was so dramatic, there still is no change in terms of policies that are allowing this type of situation to happen. So we have gone from being the place on earth with the bluest sky to the most polluted place on the planet during the past 2 months because of this situation. And there are more than 4 million animals that have been burned alive. The pictures of just this year, pictures of the situation are heartbreaking. And there are many other thousands of animals that no longer have a natural habitat in which they can live. They don't have other places to be taken.
That's so tragic.
Yes. And it is just a situation that requires so much attention and drastic changes. Unfortunately, the main purpose of the government's actions allowing this type of situation to take place is merely an economical one without analyzing the larger impact of everything. No, not even going into the empathetic aspect of just having to feel all those beings being burned alive, truly. So a couple of years ago, after I had a deep search inside through various experiences in which I worked on myself internally to be able to change certain patterns of my the way I was living. At some point, I thought that I needed to then start putting into action everything that I had been able to learn and transform into. And so that's when I started to feel this calling towards conservation. I was able to acquire a land of which I am a proud caretaker of that is adjacent to a national park. From this national park, obviously, there are many animals that come over, and this land serves sort of like a buffer zone to other agricultural areas that are around there. And within that space also, I started to envision that I could create this wild animal refuge, because it is already a refuge for animals that are free and they're roaming around. But there was also a need to be able to take in other animals that were not fortunate enough to be free, that had already been displaced, that had been trafficked or just taken into domestication. That's when I started to work on other aspects of the conservation project, and it started taking me into other areas such as a wild animal sanctuary. The reason the name is the beautiful jaguar form, the hill, is because around this area, one of the first issues I encountered was that the locals were terribly afraid of the larger wildcats, especially the jaguars. And there are pumas also. Every time a jaguar would appear or there was a situation with one of them, everyone would get scared. And obviously the natural response from the human being to be scared is to be able to defend itself and attack it. So I worked with them, trying to educate them in terms of the behaviors that these animals have, that they were not there to attack anyone. So I started working with a friend of mine. He's Australian. His name is Nick from Nick Adventures. He does adventure tourism with conservation purposes here in Bolivia. And with him, we started to track the local wildlife and the behaviors that these animals had, how long they were in the area, if they had enough food. And through that, we could calm down the neighbors around, because they understood that these animals were not there to eat them or eat their cattle. Actually, they were just there to be able to move around and search for their own wild food, which is what they prefer eating.
Is it a sanctuary for jaguars and pumas and other wildlife, or is it just mainly large cats?
So the idea is to begin with all feline species, and those are large cats such as jaguars and pumas. But there are other medium-sized ones like ocelots, and also we have smaller ones like the jaguarundi, and we have also wildcats. Yeah, I think those are the main species that are around the area. Obviously, the wildlife doesn't only include wildcats. There are peccaries. There's marsh deer, many species of birds, condors also around. It's truly a blessed area in which the nature is just thriving, and these animals are just living in a safe space. So that was the aim of the sanctuary, first of all, to be able to provide them with a buffer zone in which they can move around and in which they can feel protected without having local people seek to hunt them, which is what usually happens when they start showing up. Yeah, the name, which was the initial question, comes up because I saw that there was such fear from the local people, beliefs that are not true about these animals, because they're truly beautiful in their nature and they're truly loving. I had the opportunity to be able to service work in one other local sanctuary called Comunidad Inti Guarayasi, which is the largest animal refuge center here in Bolivia. The connection with the animals was so beautiful, working with them, feeding them, trying to be creative with their enrichment activities. And that relationship and that bond that was created with them within that work was also something that gave me the impetus and the energy to be able to decide to do this work.
For the large cats, what is their natural diet in their natural habitat? And then what would that change in the sanctuary?
The natural diet is mainly meat. Carcasses are good. Ligaments, that type of food source is also important. And it is important to try to feed them also fully sized, recently killed animals so that they can still preserve some of their instincts. And usually also this comes together with the way you feed them. So that is part of the enrichment activities. The way you feed them needs to be able to try to make them search for that food. Say you have a carcass of a deer, and then you get to wrap that around a tree branch and have them jump, climb up the tree, jump to the carcass, pull it out, and simulate as if they were hunting it. So it's also important to move things inside their enclosure so that they never feel that there is a day where their enclosure is the same as it was before. So that gives them also the sense that there is something that is being changed. So they're not moving around outside of it, but you have the opportunity at least to be able to move things around so that they start exploring something new inside it. And that's obviously daily work. It's best if it's done even twice daily for each of the animals. It's a lot of work, but I would say that it is the most fulfilling type of experience that I've had. That has led me even into learning about not only the administration part and nutritional aspects of the work with them, but also the spiritual connection with the animals. I've delved into animal communication courses, and I had already some experience when I was doing my internal work with plant medicine, connecting to the trees and being able to listen to them. Similar techniques were applied for the animal communication program. Since I had that previous experience before, the communication with them came so naturally that there was this bond created with all these different species and all these different sort of personalities that each of the species had. And then individually within the species, each one of them had its own type of behaviors and issues that they went through the day, just like we do. Exactly just like we do. Like each one of them had purpose for the day. Some of them were in a moody day sometimes. Something was going on with them. If there were two animals together and for some reason one of them had to be moved, the other one felt sad and missed that other being that wasn't accompanying them. The relationship with their caretaker also was very deep, and all of them felt it, from birds to cats to other types of mammals. So yeah, it's truly been an enlightening experience, very deep experience in terms of feeling for me, in terms of widening the spectrum of my appreciation for other beings. And that's where I feel my life's purpose is.
Can you give an example of how you can connect with them, like how the animal communication works? I know that's a very broad question, but if there's maybe one instance where you can kind of tell us how it works for you.
Sure.
In terms of being able to translate their feelings in a way that you can understand as a human.
The most important aspect of this is to go inside in full receptivity mode. That is, go into a deep listening state within oneself. So it's no different as if I'm communicating with you and you are speaking, and I go into a deep listening state in which I'm not only hearing your words, but I am feeling you. And That is the same with the plants, and it's the same with the animals. But obviously, within the animals, there are expressions that you can still see apart from the feeling, and you get a sense of what is going on. And the deeper you go into that feeling, the less you are producing thought patterns within yourself, then the wider of the spectrum of the communication that you can receive from them. So you truly need to focus on the animal, leave away any beliefs, expectations, or anything about the communication that you're about to have with them. And then you have to trust your intuition, which is where the message is coming from. Like they are there, they're just not being able to speak your language, but they are still communicating.
I think the key is to not overanalyze, because I'm trying to actually learn to communicate with my dog in a deeper way. So this is very helpful. And I think it's really magical that you can actually connect with these wild animals. I can't even imagine the feeling you get when you understand each other without speaking. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, the look, like truly when it's just as if you're looking at a person that you love in the eyes, and you know what they're feeling, what they're thinking. And it's just the same way. That's when all buzzing in the head ends, when all thought patterns about whatever it is that you're thinking ends, and you're just in full feeling receptivity mode.
And how long did that take you to develop?
It was gradual, and it started when I first started working with plant medicine. This started about 10 years ago. I was going through a difficult situation. It was one of those dark night of the souls situations where I truly thought I was not going to be able to get past or over it. And I decided to go lose myself in the Amazon jungle. At that time, I had a fiance. She was murdered. All the expectations I had about life ended at that point. So I decided to go to the Amazon jungle. There, I started working with plant medicine, mainly ayahuasca, but many other trees also, doing dietas. Through the dieta experience is where I gradually started to learn that in order to be able to have an effective communication with absolutely anything, that includes plants, animals, other people, and myself, I first needed to be able to listen to what I was communicating with fully. Like I said, that included myself also. So if there was anything I wanted to communicate with myself, I had to also be able to be receptive with my own self and be able to feel like, what is it that I'm truly feeling? What is going on? Not the ideas I have about the feeling, not the expectations, not what other people have told me those feelings supposedly are or anything. It's just going into sort of a meditative state in which psychoactive plants can help. But whatever it is that the technique is being used simply allows oneself to be able to calm down and go into that state in which we can truly feel our existence and then focus on the being with which we're communicating with. And this also applies to people that we consider quote unquote dead also. This also includes other spirits. This also includes other beings of whatever nature they may be. It's the same thing. There truly is no separation once we are feeling the connection.
Wow, that's really beautiful. And I think there's so much more spirit around us that just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
We're not paying attention, mainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're living within our own ideas. We're living within our own belief systems, our own ideas, and we're truly not paying attention to absolutely everything that is around us, let alone, and normally also we're not paying attention to what is going on within us.
Yeah.
I think that is the main issue. So once that gets calmed down, I think it's just a natural state and a natural capacity of the being to be able to communicate with what some people call telepathic communication, but it truly is just a natural state of the being to be able to connect.
Totally. And it's just been lost, especially within the modern world. It's like we're taught that we don't have this. and therefore we don't use it. And so it kind of stays buried within us unless we seek it out, you know?
That's true. And to be able to seek it out, then we would have to set aside our belief systems, our we would have to let go of those things that we thought we know, and be able to open up to new experiences. And then those new experiences at the beginning sort of come with some doubt, and then confidence slowly, gradually gets picked up. But that requires also a lot of persistence to be able to continue opening up that space. And we also, as human beings, have invalidated a lot of our own intelligence and a lot of just intelligence that is around us. Just the things that other animals can do that are so amazing. And just because they are not being able to think in the ways and patterns that we do, we completely invalidate them and put them in a different category. I can't communicate like a dolphin does. It's impossible. And the way a dolphin communicates in such a precise manner with such coordination between them, that is impossible for me to do. So why would I, as a human being, think that I am a more developed being than that dolphin?
Right.
The comparative within our brains is just haywire. It's gone completely out of control. I think that we have created within ourselves this non-existent duality that has literally turned us insane in infinite comparison, and in infinite reflection, like me and this other thing, and me and this other thing, and categorizing absolutely everything, creating non-existent lines in between what we consider animals, plants, or whatever else there. And categorization is fine in terms of just being able to mainly express that there's a difference between absolutely everything here. But if we don't start from a point in which we understand we are that thing also, if we don't start from a point of unity in the way that we approach everything and everyone else, then the comparison just becomes divisive, and it doesn't serve any communication purpose.
I think it just creates such a divide, and it's a disconnection, really. It creates a disconnection from everything else in the world.
That's true. The first time I communicated, I remember with Kusi. Kusi is a jaguar that's in Inti Warayasi. I remember the first time I connected with Kusi, when I truly felt that we created a bond and we were truly communicating, and I could understand what he wanted, if he was happy, if he wanted to do enrichment activities, if he wanted to rest, if he wanted to do whatever it was that he wanted to do, was when I stopped connecting with Kusi from all these layers of categorization. So I forgot that Kusi was from the animal kingdom, that he was a jaguar, that supposedly a jaguar, that's what we call him, and all these other things there. And it was just this being there that we are taking care of, letting it know that we were there to take care of him. And then at that point, there was truly a heart-to-heart communication in which we understood that we were there to help each other, we to help him be taken care of, and him to help us connect with our heart again.
And was he aware of the whole situation?
Yes.
In terms of you creating the sanctuary for him, and as well as his family or his habitat?
Yes. Animals understand and feel everything. Kusi's mom was shot.
Oh my gosh.
And he was taken in when he was a little cub.
Oh,
and
so heartbreaking.
And he obviously knows his mom was killed.
Yeah.
But he's such a loving being. So after that, though, he received at this sanctuary such love and good care from all the people that visited him every day. He didn't fall into despair. You see the light in his eyes, like he is truly a happy being. He's not free. He lives within an enclosure, and he had something that trauma is not only inherent in human beings. All the animals Animals suffer it.
Correct. Yeah.
I can see it after the all the slash and burn here, the way animals ran for help, even towards human beings. Like their fear was such that they lost even the fear that they have for
Right.
human beings, and then they went to the human beings to ask for water and for help if they were hurt.
This is so heartbreaking.
Yeah, they understand. They understand. They just communicate differently.
Yeah, humans are so destructive.
Sí.
How do you envision the sanctuary evolving?
We're working right now in designing the first enclosures. And at the same time, I'm working on designing different income streams in which it can be self sustainable. The government obviously does not support or provide any help at all. So, support usually comes from donations from abroad. Other than that, though, I was thinking that even though that would may be welcome, I needed to be able to use my creativity to create a self-sustainable place there that didn't depend on donations also. So the way that I was working on that was to be able to grow organic coffee in certain places where there was some agriculture being developed by the previous owners. Coffee would allow me also to reforest with native trees about 40% of that land. So I would be able to create income stream that would allow me also to reforest, and that would be also sustainable, and all the proceeds obviously would go to be able to cover the costs of the animal refuge. In order to do that, I've had to also start learning about coffee growing, and all the steps within the value-added chain of coffee production. The other income stream that I was working on is ecotourism. It's a different type of ecotourism, though, because here it would be an ecotourism that would come with a conservation educational purpose also, not just weekend in nature, but also presentation, being able to show that type of work that is being done there. I wanted to create some glamping sites that would not affect the land, like they would not be fixed structures, and be able to bring over people so that we can take them on trails. We can show them the diversity of all the plants and animals that are within the area, and then obviously explain to them the importance of taking care of the environment, and also demonstrating to them the work that is being done within the animal refuge. So those are the two main income streams. Apart from that, also creating a means to be able to also receive donations, but that would be just an extra that I would not like to be dependent on. So yeah, this activity has led me into learning about different things that I had never thought before I would be learning about, such as animal nutrition, administration of animal refuges, animal communication, coffee growing, construction even. We're designing now the enclosures, and I'm getting into the type of materials and the way that they need to be designed, and how and where. I've also gotten into learning about also the different types of plants and animal species. And it's truly a beautiful experience because I'm also learning along the way as I'm getting into things. And that also has helped me surpass certain limitations that I had. So whenever there's something that comes up that needs to be part of this project that is new, then I just see it like, okay, that's something else that I need to learn now, not as a barrier.
I think that's a really fulfilling path, actually, and to be able to see these challenges as all a learning experience, and that just adds more skills to your plate. What role does community engagement play in your vision?
So the work that is being done at the sanctuary would be fruitless if there was no community engagement. If there's no way to be able to not only educate, but create that sense of empathy from the people around, local people, and well, now through social media, it's also possible to be able to reach others in that way. If we're not able to bring the awareness of the gravity of the situation that is going on with the deforestation and bring the awareness of the suffering that is real also for the animals, just as much as it would be for any human being. And then we would continue on a path of unconsciousness in which people will continue, if they're not promoting this, at least just let it pass. I would say that the most important aspect of this work is to be able to connect and inspire other people so that in their own way and through their own means, they can somehow be able to understand of the importance that we are all in this together. And we are all in this together, trees, animals, human beings, absolutely everyone. If we can't be able to inspire someone else, if we can't be able to be able to help other people connect with their empathy towards these beings and all that, then obviously the work would be very limited. Like obviously the animals that would be there would be taken care of, they would receive a loving life, but it won't be able to effect on a wider scale.
And will you be incorporating like a retreat center or an area where you could actually organize retreats?
The area that's envisioned for glamping is envisioned in a way where there can be certain activities that can be considered like retreats. So there is a possibility to be able to have meditation, yoga, even plant medicine retreats. I would say, though, that all these activities that are helpful and fulfilling and in somehow helping the being connect with himself so it can connect to everything else is a part of this, with the additional aspect that it is oriented towards a conservation purpose. So there can be retreat activities. Those would go hand in hand with trail visits, showing and demonstrating other people that the importance of just being within the presence of nature and being able to awaken within them also all this healing that the being already gets from just being surrounded by this nature there. At this time where most of us human beings are living in crowded cities, we're mainly surrounded by cement. It is such a healing experience to just be surrounded by all these trees, knowing that all this life is moving around you, and that just in itself is truly a healing experience. So we would like to be able to awaken that within our visitors, and from then on also for them to appreciate it in a way that they want to take care of it.
Is the indigenous community around there involved in any way?
Around the area where this land is, there are no indigenous communities. There are communities, local communities, very small towns. Those are the people that we would mainly engage with on a direct basis. But obviously that's not where our communication work ends. I am envisioning developing different platforms to be able to also show the work that is being done, being able to obviously visit other communities where there may be situations similar as in this area, where you have wildlife that is interacting ever more with human beings. We're usually getting closer and closer and closer to the wild animal habitats, that the interaction is increasing between human beings and these types of animals. And usually that type of interaction is not good. It's not good for the animal, it's not good for the people. So wherever those communities are along the whole country, then we would try to be able to connect with them and be able to bring in educational programs so that there is at least some understanding and some empathy that is being brought up, so that next time that they interact with these animals, they know that they are not pets, that they don't have to take them home.
They're still wild animals.
Yeah, and they can't sell them. That is something that you just don't do.
Yeah, why are humans so destructive? It's awful.
And enslaving. We enslave ourselves.
Exactly.
And then we want to enslave everything else.
I mean, this is a huge project, so I applaud you for even taking something on like this.
Thank you. But I've been having a rough time lately. I've been going through another one of those dark night of the souls with a recent relationship that ended. And I remember I was in one of those points where, well, I had left my spiritual practice for the last couple of years. I was focusing mainly on solving things, and things also included with this project. I was mainly on a go ahead doing mode and moving along and pushing along. And I recently remember like being in a very dark place, and I'm like, okay, I need to find light somewhere. And then the first thing that came to mind was just the animals. And then I started again just going back to the reason why I was trying to do this, instead of just doing the tasks for it to move along and push along the project and that type of thing, but just reconnecting with the reason of why I was doing this. And as soon as I did that, then everything started to change. Everything started to change within me. Everything started to change around me. I started to gain again purpose, and I started to be able to do things from a healthy place in which I felt that it came from a higher purpose.
Right. And I think reminding yourself of that why really kind of snaps you back into it, snaps you back into realignment. It's like so much gratitude toward those dark nights, right? They're so difficult, but once you move through it, things are brighter and make more sense. It's hard work though, you know, it's hard work.
it is hard work. It is very hard work. It is very, very hard work. And yeah, no, I'm just remembering. I'm just remembering because I was cursing everything and everyone. Why did I get into this? I was questioning every decision made.
Yeah.
It was one of those. And then I I remember watching myself there and going, okay, that's fine. You can release. You can have your cathartic experience. You can feel. It's okay to feel. You can release all that. But just be careful when you're going into whining mode, and then understand that at some point you're still going to have to lift yourself up.
Yep.
And then that point was when I started to obviously ask for help. I started to ask for help within my own guides. I started to ask for help within people that truly care for me. And the help and support was there. And then at some point I was like, okay, so now it is me that has to do the work.
Have you restarted your spiritual practices?
I did. They got me jump started again.
The dark night's like telling you, yeah. Hey, you've neglected me for 2 years, so I'm gonna show up in your life again and remind you.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, exactly. It's been rough, but here we are, good and ready to go again. And with all the understandings of having lived the experiences.
I mean, you work full time, right? So how do you even manage a sanctuary plus working full time?
I don't know. You know, when I started to go to Peru, in the Amazon in Peru, I started to do these trips where I would go about 2 months into the Amazon, and then I would come back here. I would be about a month or so trying to keep things in order here with all that. Then I sort of was able to adjust in a way where I could at least try to balance things. Obviously, that didn't always work. There were many instances where things got out of balance. But the most important thing that I learned was to try to pick up and notice as soon as possible when something needed the attention and was not getting it before it got out of control. In the balancing and the equilibrium of everything, and also patience. I learned a lot of patience because for this sanctuary, for example, there are many things that I would love to be able to push and move faster. But then I understand that there are timings, there are documents that need to be filed, there are plans that need to be drawn. And then as things move along, then are other things that gradually start opening up, such as ideas. At the beginning, I didn't know how I was going to be able to make it sustainable. And then things gradually start opening up. And so not rushing into everything. I would say mainly patience and equilibrium.
And a lot of
This
trust.
last time, yes, that's also super important. That is super super important also. Even when things seem to fall off, like recently, I felt that everything just collapsed. And when that happened, then I started to divert my attention to the things that really mattered.
It's funny how life works. Sometimes things just implode in your face in order to make space for things that are better. But at the moment, you're kind of like, why is this happening to me right now?
Even having gone through the similar experiences before, every time it's new.
Yeah.
Every time it's new. And every time it's like, no, why? What did I learn this?
Yep.
See?
You're like, why is this happening? You're like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
It's a wild ride, which I've been trying to smoothen a bit in whichever way possible I can.
Human life is so much fun, isn't it?
See?
We can laugh about it now. So what's your timeline for the sanctuary?
So there are different things that are running in parallel. We have the filing of the paperwork with different institutions. I think that'll take about 6 months. Then we have to build the first areas. That includes a nutritional area, sort of small clinic, quarantine, and then the first 3 enclosures. Mm-hmm. So I would say we will do all that within the next year, hopefully within the first 8 months, but within the next year. I am planting the first coffee plants at this moment now, this month. And at the beginning of next year, I will start working on the glamping sites. Like, I already know where to put them, but I will start working on those. I have cleared already the trails. Trails are really
great,
really nice. They're awesome. They're amazing. They're such beautiful places to explore. So that's already done. Also, I would say beginning of next year, I will start working on different platforms. We have camera traps that we've set around different areas, and we have the first pictures of all the wildlife that's there. We have pictures, videos. I can send you some of those also. We have those to be able to show what the types of wildlife that we have around the area. That's how all this is moving along.
Awesome. And if people want to connect with you and help out or collaborate, where can they find you?
I would say they can text me directly. Email also works. My email is Roberto Landivar, all together, at autocorp with K.com.
As a final note, is there anything that you would like to share with the world?
Yes, that we are all in this together. The moment that we can all be able to understand that, I think that we will truly be able to create beyond the limiting patterns and everything that we've been creating in so far there. And that obviously that is individual work, because only oneself can realize that we are all in this together. So my message to the rest of the world is that I will continue to work on myself as much as needed to be able to sink that truth in as much as I can.
Beautiful. Your inner world reflects your outer world, right?
Yes. No difference. No separation.
Thank you so much for being here, Roberto. It's really, really inspiring, your story and what you're doing for the world. And we can definitely use a lot more people like you. Appreciate you coming here and sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Jo. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for being a part of our community. Be sure to connect with me by hitting subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. I greatly appreciate your support and would be thrilled if you could leave a review. Your reviews help this podcast reach a wider audience and foster stronger collective connection. You can also connect with me on Instagram and YouTube at The Cosmic Whispers Podcast. Thanks for listening.